Hello everyone, welcome to this session. We are waiting for participants to join. We will start the session by 4:05. Till then, do follow us on our social media platforms. Do subscribe on our YouTube channel for upcoming updates, for upcoming webinars, workshops, and certification trainings we do. Till the time we wait for the participants, please do follow us on our social media platforms. I've shared the link and you can go through our meetup community Hello everyone. Can someone please just confirm if I'm audible clearly? Archie, am I audible? Mansi, ma'am, am I
Hello,
audible?
sure. You are audible. You can
Yes,
continue.
yes. Thank you. Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Shuk Parmar, your host for today's webinar. My team and I are here to make sure you have a seamless and engaging experience. If you have any questions or need assistance, feel free to use the chat window. We are here to help. The topic for today is Agentic AI and data integration using Azure Data Factory and cognitive search. This webinar is hosted by the ATC community, a hub for enthusiasts passionate about cloud technologies, AI, machine learning, IoT, open source development, and DevOps. Today's event is sponsored by Synergetics. Before we dive into today's session, let me take a moment to introduce Synergetics and Microsoft. Synergetics is a leading edge learning solutions provider in India offering specialized training and consulting services. We empower businesses and professionals to thrive in today's fast evolving tech landscape by delivering transformative learning experiences. Our core focus is on enabling digital transformation through innovative skilling programs, advisory services, and end to end implementation support. From modernizing IT frameworks to mastering emerging technologies like AI, cloud computing, and DevOps, Synergetics is committed to equipping you with the tools and knowledge to succeed. These are the learning solutions which are offered by Synergetics, which are persona based onboarding, onboarding add on, certification add on, reskilling, emerging technology training, certification hackathon, cloud adoption, latest technology training, sales, pre sales training, practice playbook, and architecting. This is the Microsoft certification skilling journey. The journey begins with the fundamental certification, then progresses to advanced role based certification, and finally to expert level certification. We run communities on Meetup. This is the emerging technology community. Anyone who are eager to learn about technological knowledge can join this community on Meetup. We have multiple communities in Pune, Gujarat, Nagpur, and Indore. Those who are interested to join this community, please log in to the Meetup app and gain your knowledge for free. Uh, we are thrilled to have Mansi Sahane as our today's speaker. She is an IoT data analytics and ML consultant and trainer associated with Synergetics. She is a very capable consultant experienced in training and skilling, designing learning curriculums, and mentoring professionals in various organizations. A learning consultant, content developer, corporate trainer, moderator with multitude years of experience. Mansi has played many roles and provided skilling solutions for multiple organizations as well. The agenda for this webinar is Introduction to Agentic AI, Azure Data Factory Overview, Cognitive Search Fundamentals, Real World Use Cases, and Best Practices in Security. You have to follow the code of conduct, which will create a respectful environment for all the participants. Participants know, please note that you are not allowed to take screenshot of the presentation and cannot do screen recording. Uh, I would like to take a moment to share some information about the certification workshops we conduct at Synergetics. Uh, these webinars we have been attending are designed to give you a brief overview and summary of the full course content. However, the actual certification training programs for this courses run over 4 days, and we are currently offering them at a special discounted rate exclusively for webinar attendees. On my screen, you can see the list of in-demand certification courses we are currently focusing on. For more details, I'll share contact to my colleague of my one of my colleague, Mr. Vivek Balasundaram. You can connect with him for more in detail. Do follow us on our social media platforms to get relevant updates on upcoming webinars, workshops, and certification training we do. Also, the link is shared in the chat box. Thank you so much for listening to me. Now we'll hand over the mic to our speaker.
Thank you so much, Shubh. Hello, everyone. A very good evening to all of you. Uh, Let me know if I'm audible. Sh- Shubh, if you can hear me,
Yes,
let me know if I'm
yes,
audible.
yes, you're audible clearly now.
Okay, yeah. So, in case at any given point, guys, please let me know if I'm not audible or my screen's not visible. Please immediately in the chat do let me know about it. So, thank you all for joining the webinar for today. So, the agenda, as Shubh mentioned, just a second, guys. Yeah, so welcome on. So, let's start with the session. So, we will try and wrap up the session as early as possible because it's a long weekend and everyone, I'm pretty sure, would like to enjoy the rest of the evening. So, we'll try and wrap it up as soon as possible. We will not be extending the session more till 5:30. Okay, we should be expected because it's a webinar, it's a very small demo that is there. There's not much in it. So we will first of all very quickly look at the topic. That is, we are going to see what is the integration between two services, that is the Azure Agentic AI with Data Factory. Okay, so this is what we are going to see. So first of all, we are going to see what is the Data Factory service. Then we will see what is Azure Agentic AI, how to create agents on the Azure AI Foundry. What is Azure AI Foundry is what we are going to understand. And then later on, we will see a very small demo on how to integrate these two services together. So let's go ahead and understand what is the data factory service. So first service that we are going to understand is the data factory service. So we all know that data today has become very important. It has become very critical, right? It is something that is the oil, and no industry today without data can work or is going to work, right? Every industry, like your in any organization, also if you work, right? We need to collect data, and just keeping the data is not going to help us. We need to extract that data and we need to take some decisions, some meaningful insights we need to get so that we can analyze our data and improve upon it, right? So every organization's aim is to improve their sales, is to improve their or change the marketing strategy that is there, right? That is what every organization aims at. So over here also, when you are working and data, we all know. Okay, very quickly, guys, can you all let me know in the chat that what are the different sources from where data can come in? We know that I told you all data is something that is very large in size. I mean, it's very important. So can you list down in the chat very quickly what are the different sources from where data is generated? Yes, guys, very quickly in the chat. Mhm. Hello, am I audible? Hello, hello.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello.
So you
Yes.
can let me know what are the different sources, guys, from where data is generated? What are the different sources? So someone know that data comes in from sources like Android. Hello. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm just having some network problems. Yeah. So absolutely correct, everyone. I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, you're audible clearly, ma'am.
Okay. So sorry, guys. Yeah. So absolutely correct, everyone. We have so many sources from where data comes in. Yeah, I'll just share my screen again. So we all know that data comes in from so many sources. We have the databases, right? We have data warehouses, we have the IoT sensors from where data comes, right? We have data that generally also comes from websites, applications, so many places from where data comes in, right? And we all know that this data that is coming, we need to analyze it. We need to make we need, like I said, we need to make or take, sorry, we need to take meaningful decisions out of that because you want to analyze what was your sales that you did last month or you did this month, right? Or the marketing strategies that you have been implementing. Have they I mean, have they increased the sales or have they decreased the sales? You need to analyze that, right? And the first step, what you need is the data. Without the data, how will you go ahead and analyze the data, improve or work upon it, right? So you all told me, yes, correctly mentioned in the chat that the data that comes in is coming from so many sources. Correct? We have the databases, data warehouses, data lakes, right? And the type of the data also that comes from these sources is not the same, right? We have three types of data, that is structured, semi-structured, unstructured data that is there, right? So we need to, in order to analyze this sort of data, the very first thing that we need to perform is to get the data, is to extract the data. So guys, if you have any question, is my screen not visible? I'll share my screen again. Yeah. So I hope my screen's visible now.
Yes, it's visible.
Okay. So so like how we when we go to any website, like let's say Amazon, right? We go to the Amazon website and we place orders, right? To buy multiple products or purchase something from there, right? That it could be any product that we purchase. So what do? We go to the website, we place the order, right? And somebody from the Amazon team, or there is a delivery partner who is assigned. So that partner, what he will do, he will go to the data warehouse where the product is kept. He will go to that data warehouse and he will take the order that you have placed, right? And he will come and he will deliver that order to you, right? So here also we have so many sources, right? And the first thing that we need is the data. How are we going to otherwise analyze it? So somewhere it has to be kept in some destination. The data needs to be stored. It could be a data lake, it could be a data warehouse where you might have to store the data, right? Like how the package is delivered to you. So somebody from Amazon team goes over there and will go ahead and will will go to that warehouse and will fetch the or will pick up that order and will deliver it to you, right? So let's say you have so many sources from where data is coming in. So somebody has to pick up this data, extract this data, right? Whether it's coming from a database, from a website, from application, or from a sensor. Somebody has to pick up that data and put it in some destination, has to deliver it to your destination to the house, right? So, because data comes from so many sources, you need to, and like I said, you need to move it, right? How you deliver the package. So, you require a tool to do that, and one such tool that is used is called as the Azure Data Factory. The tool that is used, it's called as the Azure Data Factory. Now, what is the Azure Data Factory doing? Okay, it's basically a ETL tool. Okay, what is ETL? So when we talk about, like I said, we need to analyze the data, or when we are working with data as a whole, right? We know that we need to analyze the data now, and analysis can be either predictive, can be descriptive, can be, there are lots of types of analysis that one can do, right? So, now, like I said, the data that comes in, this data that you get from the sources you mentioned, right? Databases, IoT sensors, etc. We know that this data is not something that is ready for analysis. I cannot use this data directly and I can create a report, or I can do some predictive analysis. Now, predictive analysis, we know that is machine learning or training a AI model, right? That is what is predictive analytics. So we can't directly use that data and we can start the analysis. Correct? We need to first of all clean the data. We need to transform the data. The data is not in one format. You're getting it from databases. In databases, we know the data is relational. It is in a table structure, right? We know from IoT sensors, it can come in a JSON format, which is semi-structured data. So that it is not one type, not even one format of the data comes in, right? So here to we need someone, first of all. Just a second, guys. Yeah. So over here, we need to clean the data, transform the data, and then only we can use that data for whether we are creating a report or we are or we are performing predictive analysis. Yeah, so sorry guys, there's some network issue going on. I hope I'm audible and my screen's also visible. Mm. Yeah, so what does Data Factory do then? Yes, guys, let me know if I'm audible now and visible, if my screen's visible now.
Yes, you're audible and your screen is also visible.
Okay, okay, thank you so much. So, yeah. So Data Factory basically is a tool that will help us. Basically, it's a ETL tool. Now, what is an ETL? So when, like I said, in when we are working with data, the data needs to flow, right, from one end to the other end. So you have data coming in from so many sources, and you need to load the data, or you need to put this data into some destination, right? So if I have to do that, if I have to move the data, like how you placed an order at the on the Amazon website, and somebody went and picked up that order and delivered it to your house, to your destination. So similarly, here also, if you want to move your data to a destination, right, then you need a tool, and that is your Data Factory tool. So over here, that is what basically Data Factory does. Its job is to help. Okay, any movement of the data, any data ingestion, if you have to do, then this tool will help you. So, what is a data factory tool? A data factory tool is nothing but a ETL tool used for data ingestion or data, I write it down, data movement. Now, this tool that we have, okay, this particular tool will be what we say, it performs orchestration. It's an orchestrated tool. So there are two components in this tool that we need to know. The first is the pipeline, and second is the data flow. So these are two components that are there in the data factory service, components of data factory. So here now, when we are moving the data, right? I told you the data is coming from a source, and it is getting ingested, or it is getting stored in some destination, right? So now I want to orchestrate this process. Now, what do I mean by orchestration? So like we all know that in a day, or like if I have to perform certain tasks, or there is some project that is coming up, right? What do we do? There are steps in the project, right? There are phases in our project, phase one, phase two, phase three. Nobody goes to the direct or the final step or the final phase in a project, right? You go in a sequential manner, one after the other, right? So here also, let's say you want to move the data, right? You have to move the data from these sources to a destination. So here also, if you want to sequentially move, okay, you perform one step, then move to the next step, then you move to the third step, then that process is called as orchestrating, okay, wherein everything follows a sequence, okay. So if I want to arrange this sequence, because when we are performing these sequence, or when we are performing this um, set of orchestration. It needs to be put somewhere, it needs to be organized somewhere. And that component in the data factory that helps you organize and orchestrate your task is called as the pipeline. So, what does pipeline do? Hello, am I not audible, guys? Let me know.
Uh, yes, you are audible now.
Okay, okay. Fine. So what does the data factory tool do then? Okay, so the first component is the pipeline. So pipeline will basically, if you have multiple, like you have to extract data, move the data. So the pipeline is going to help you organize, like how we have calendars, right? Wherein we organize the wherein we organize our tasks, right? Where we have to put in, where we know what is our schedule, when is the training or whatever, what kind of meetings are arranged, etc. So there's a calendar that will help us organize it so that we know, okay, this is the meeting at 4 o'clock, this is the meeting at this time, right? So that is what pipeline basically helps us to do. And so the pipeline is the first component that is present in the data factory. So this is what we are going to use, and we are going to see how to work with the data factory. Then the second component is the data flow. So what is data flow? So I told you data factory is a ETL tool, right? It is a ETL tool. So the T that is there. Now, why do we need, what is that T? So E stands, we all know in a ETL, E is basically extract, transform, and load, right? That is what is ETL, correct? So if I want to, now, like I told you, the data that we are getting from these sources, it is not what we say, it is not completely perfect, right? It's something that we need to make it perfect. We need to clean it, we need to transform it, right? So before I load the data into the destination, before the package is delivered, so there is some transformation, some changes that are made. Okay, then if I want to perform that in the data factory service, we use the data flow to perform that. So data flow is that what we say, it's like a low code, no code approach to basically clean and transform the data. So let's say some people are not confident with coding, right? They don't like coding, or they know very little about coding. Okay, so if they want to clean the data, transform the data, because earlier people used to use Python or some SQL language to transform the data, right? So here they can use the data flow with very little coding, and they can transform the data. Okay, they can transform the data. So over here, these are the two components. So let's just see a small demo on what is the data factory, how to create a data factory service in Azure. So before we go ahead and we understand the data factory service, there are certain terms that we need to know on the Azure cloud. Okay, we need to know on the Azure cloud service that is there. Just 1 second, guys, I'll be back. Yeah. So before we go ahead and we see how to work with the data factory service, let's understand some of the Azure terminologies that is there on the cloud. So the first thing that we need to know is subscription. Okay. So what is a subscription? A subscription is nothing but a billing boundary, because it determines how much, because all these services, I'm sorry, because all these services that are there, no, it comes under the data flow comes in the in the Azure data factory only. It's not an independent service. So there are multiple data flows that are there. We have a data flow in data factory. We have a data flow in even in Power BI, in a new service that Microsoft has recently launched, which is the Fabric service. So data flow is like a common term that is used when we talk about transformation. So it can be used in ETL, I mean any, but it's a part of, if I have to talk about in terms of data factory, then it is a part of the data factory service. And I'll show it to you how it looks like, though we will not see a demo on it, but it is a part of the Azure data factory. So the first thing is the billing boundary subscription, which is the billing boundary. So how much can you spend, right? Because we have to, not all the things are free, right? There are things that we need to pay for, right? How much are you going to get in the free that is there? Like when we are on the OTT platforms also, the free part that is there, right? We get ads and etc. So what do? We go to the paid option so that it becomes ad free. There are certain contents that is visible to me and I can see them, right? So that is what is basically a subscription that tells me how much can I spend on the this thing, and I need to give, because we need to tell the subscription, okay, this is what you're supposed to use, and you can, okay, so this is what you can use, this is the billing boundary that is there, and you can deduct the money from this subscription. So that is the first thing that we need to give. Then the second is a resource group that we need to specify. Okay, so the second thing that we need to do is we need to specify a resource group. Now, what is a resource group? So at times we will be having multiple resources that we create, right? Right? We might have multiple resources that we create. So in order to put them into a logical container, like how we put our files, whatever project we are working on, all that files, all the data is put into one folder, right? So here also we have a resource group that we put in one, all the resources come in one single umbrella, and that is what is your resource group. So these are the two things that we need to know, okay, in terms of when we create a data factory service. So over here, let's go ahead and see how to create a simple data factory service. I'm going to very quickly show you all that. And this is what is a data factory service. So I have already logged in to the Azure portal. Okay. So we will search for the data factory. So this is the data factory service that we have. I'm going to create a new one. So just search for it. So this is your Azure portal. You can come here and you can search for the data factory service, or you can, yes, I have already created one, but here we will create a new one. So I'll just click on create. So if you observe here, the first thing that we do is we give the subscription, which where are you supposed to deduct the money um, for this particular service, because we need to pay. Azure is a pay as you go model. So here we need to give that. Here I'll create a new resource group. I'll go call it as the webinar, okay, because it's a webinar that we are conducting. So I'll just click on OK. Give it a name. So I'll call this as ADF, Agentic AI integration, because that is what we are focused on. Okay, so this is the name of the data factory service that I'm giving, and I will just quickly change the region. So instead of East US, I'll just use East US 2. And then I'll go ahead and click on review plus create so that we can go ahead and create the data factory service. So it's done a quick validation. Now we can go ahead and just click on the create button. So let's wait for, yeah, okay. So it has created a data factory service. So I'll just go to the data factories and I will search for it. So let's just refresh this. Yeah, so if you see, this is the data factory service that they have created. Now, in order to launch this or look at this service, we need to open a data factory studio. So just click on this launch button and it will take you to another browser wherein you can go and work with the data factory. So here what it does is it's creating a separate workspace where you can come in and you can work on the data factory components, that is either create a pipeline or a data flow. So once this opens, we will just very quickly see how to do a simple activity. Okay, so I talked about the pipeline, right? We discussed about the pipeline. So what does pipeline do? I told you it is nothing but like a place where I can organize, like how we have calendars, how to what I mean, we organize our schedules, right? So if I want to organize the set of tasks, what do? We put it into a pipeline, right? So in a pipeline, what sort of task do you want to perform? That you, if you want to, so those tasks in the pipeline, they are called as an activity. Okay, they are called as an activity. Now, what is an activity? Activity is nothing but an action that you want to perform. What exactly do you want to do in that pipeline? What is the pipeline supposed to, or the sequence of actions that you're supposed to you want the pipeline to implement? You will put that in this pipeline. So it's how you have one meeting after the other, you schedule it, right? So over here also, you want the first activity, the second activity, then the third activity. So where do you organize it? You organize it in the pipeline. But what do you put in the pipeline is the action that the pipeline is supposed to execute, right? So over here, I have this activity that we put into a pipeline. Now, there are different activities that you can perform when you are working with the data factory. So we talked about one such task that the data factory performs is to move the data, right? Is to move the data from the sources or from one source to a destination, right? So let's say I want to do that over here. Okay, I want to implement the data movement. So data factory has one activity. Data factory has one activity which is very popularly used in order to move the data. That is the copy activity. Now, what does the copy activity do? Basically, it transports, okay, or basically copies the data from a source to a destination. That's it. Okay, here it extracts the data, okay, from the source and loads the data. So it only does kind of a sort of act, EL sort of a pipeline it will create, and it will just dump in the data from one source to the other source. Okay, so over here, this is so that it has a set of activities that are there. So one such activity that we are also going to see, okay, in our demo today is called as the web activity. Is called as the web activity because we are going to integrate the agentic AI, right, with the data factory. We want the agentic AI to be triggered, to be implemented through the data factory, right? Because that is what is the integration. So if I have to implement, I have to use the what we say, the agentic or the agent that we are going to create. Okay, that if I have to trigger, I can do that using the web activity. So it's like a phone call that you make. How do you make a phone call? If to someone you use a medium, you use a mobile phone to make a call, right? So think of ADF like that. So if you want to call the agent, right, and you want the agent to implement or to be executed via data factory. So web activity will help you do that in the data factory service. So this is the activity that we are going to look at. And this is the activity that is going to integrate the data factory with the agentic AI or the agent that we create. So over here, it will be more of no code approach. There will be very little coding here. When we talk about, there will be no coding because we will have to go in depth and etc. And we have very little time. So I'll show you a simple integration, and then of course you can go ahead and then of course you can just try it out. You can definitely use a code also. So here it will be a simple demo, not a complicated demo, because it's a simple just a way we are just learning how to first of all integrate. Okay, so of course you can use code, but here it will be a little less of coding. I mean low code, I would say. No code at all, I wouldn't say, but you can definitely use a code and you can work with it. Okay, so now let's see let me just show you all very quickly how to perform a copy activity. Let's just get a hang of the data factory service. Okay, that is there. So let's just see a quick demo on it. So this is the data factory portal, or you can also call it as the workspace. So this is also a workspace. Workspace meaning what work, where do you work and you upload the work. So that is like a workspace that you create. Now let's go ahead and before we go ahead and create or do the EL activity, what I will do is I will mm, I will create a so we have a storage account here. Okay, I have a blob storage here that is there. So in the blob storage, what I'll do is let me just check whether I have some files or not. Yeah, okay. So I have certain files here. So what I'm going to do is we will very quickly. So if you see, this is my file. Okay, this is the file. So what we will do is let's just very quickly see a copy activity. So I'll just create another storage account. Okay, I'm going to very quickly create another storage account. And just click on review plus create over here. Just click on the create button. So what I'm going to do is till the time this is getting created, I have this storage account here. I have this file here. So we saw the customers.csv file, right? Where did it go? Okay, so this is our file that we had seen. So what I'll do is I'll copy this file into the new storage account that I have created. Okay, I'm just going to very quickly show you. So this is the storage account that we have just created. So if I refresh it, yes. So can you see this is a storage account? And in this storage account, I'm going to create a container. Okay, so wherein I'm going to copy the customers.csv file over here. So just click on the create button here. So using the data factory, so we talked about the movement. So let's just see how can you move the data. So I will come to the author tab here. And in the author tab, can you see we have the pipelines and we have the data flow. So in the pipeline, we are going to see how to use the pipelines. Okay. So data flows is nothing but a transformation tool. So we will not see that, but if you see it has been integrated in the data factory service, I will use the pipeline. So if I have to create a pipeline, just come to the pipelines section, click on these three dots and select the new pipeline option here. So I'll just give this pipeline a name. I'll call this as copy pipeline and just collapse this. So this is the name of the pipeline. Like what is this pipeline exactly doing? Now I want to move the data, right? So I will come to this. So you can see here, we have a list of activities that are there. So if you want to move the data, you want to use some notebooks. If you are a if you are from the coding background, you want to implement notebooks, whether it's a Synapse notebooks, it's a Databricks notebook. Okay, you can use so many activities to do that. So if I want to move the data, so if you see, you have a category called as move and transform. So I'm going to use the copy data activity and I'm going to move the data from one source to the other. So if you see the minute, so it's like a canvas, right? Wherein if you have to draw a paint, you have to draw something, right? You have been given a blank paper, it's a canvas, and you then start drawing on it, correct? So here also you have a canvas, a page that has been given to you where you can draw and perform the activities in a sequential manner using the data factory tool. So now since I have to move the data, so what I will do, I'll go to the source and we will configure or we will have to tell the data factory service that, okay, this is my source. This is the file, okay, from where you are supposed to get the data, extract the data and dump it or store it or probably load it in your application. So if you see, this is the source information that I'm giving. Yeah, sorry guys. I hope I'm audible now. Please let me know. Okay. Yeah. So over here, we are just configuring the source information. So our source is a blob storage. So I will use the Azure blob storage. So this is a source information that I'm giving. So here I'll just click on the continue button. Now, what is my source? You specify that. So it's a, if you look at the data, so if I go to the storage accounts, so in the data, when we saw the file, So can you see the file is a CSV file? That means it's a delimited text, right? So I'm going to tell the data factory service that the source is a delimited text. So I'll just select the format of the file. Just click on continue. Give it a name. So I'll just give it a name as source data set. Now to this, we need to link. Okay, we need to connect the data factory because the data is not with the data factory. The data is where the data lies in the source. So we need to tell the data factory, okay, you have to go to the source and you have to fetch that data. So we need to link the data factory service with the blob storage, right? So over here, I'll just click on the new button and we are going to create a connection. Okay, we are going to create a connection with the data fact of we are going to create a connection of data factory with the Azure blob storage. So here I'll give it a name and I will give my subscription details. Select the storage account from where you want to get the data. So I'm going to use this. This is my source. Okay. And just test the connection. Okay. See whether they are actually connected or not, because data factory has to go to the source and fetch the data once you execute this pipeline. So as of now, data factory doesn't have the data. Data is at your source. So whenever you execute this pipeline, it will have to go to the source and using this link, using this connection string that is there, it will go to the source and fetch the data once you put the pipeline to execution. So once this is done, just click on the create button. Now browse for the file that you want to copy. So click on the browse button. So this is the container where the file is and select this file. So here I'll click on OK. And once this is done, so you can see the path and the file name has come in. So just click on OK. And now we have configured the source information that is there. So very easy, right? Nowhere did I use a lot of coding or any code was written, very drag and drop sort of a visual or sort of a interface I have over here, right? So people who generally don't know coding or are not interested to learn a code, but they still want to perform ETL, ELT, all these they want to do all these um, I mean, these pipelines they want to create. So they can still come to the data factory service and do it. Now, once this is done, we need to configure the destination, right? So again, we need to create a new data set where the data is going to be loaded. We need to create that. So here I'll click on the new button. Again, I'll select the Azure blob storage because my destination is another blob storage only, right? It's another blob storage that I had created. Once that is done, so now if you recall, the source file that we had was a CSV file. It was a delimited text, right? I don't want it to be copied as a delimited text. Let's say I want to say, I want that file to be copied or to be moved, no doubt. But I don't want it to be stored as a delimited text. I might want to change the format of the text, format of the file, right? So let's say I want to go with a JSON file. Okay, so I'll go with a JSON option. Click on continue. Give it a new name. So I'll give it a new name again. I'll call this as destination data set. This is the name. Again, I'll just use this blob storage link only because we have the blob storage connection. It's the same. Just we have to browse for it. Oh, I'll have to actually update it. 1 second. We'll create a new one again. So again, I'll create a new one, though you can update the same one also. But here I'll go with a new one. Just test the connection because Data Factory now has to load the data somewhere. So just click on the create button. So it has created. Now what I'll do is I will just browse for the container because this container, if you observe the blob storage that we had created, if you observe that container, right? That container doesn't have any file as of now, right? This container doesn't have any file. So we have to tell the data factory service that this is where you are supposed to copy the data or move the data, right? So over here, I will select this container, click on OK. So you can see the container has come, the file path has come here. Just click on the OK button. And you can see that the destination has also been configured, right? So just before you go ahead and execute this, you can just click on the publish all. Can you see here? We have this publish all option. Now, what does the publish all do? It will save all the changes, all the work that you have done, and also execute the pipeline. Okay, also execute the pipeline. But if you don't want to save the changes, you don't want to, make note of this. So what you can do is you can just click on the debug button. So if you don't want to save these changes, then you will have to publish. Okay, without publishing, the work that you have done will not be saved. So you have to, in order to save your work, you will have to click on the publish button. Now, why three things? Because we created two data sets and a pipeline. So it's just that is why those three things are coming over here. Okay, only that is there. So here I'll just click on the debug button because I don't want to save the changes. I'll be deleting this. It's just to show you all how the data factory tool is. Okay, it is to show you all how the data factory tool works. So if you see over here below, we are getting the status of the output, right? What is the status at what point or kind of what kind of which activity? Because here we have only one activity as of now, right? But I told you that a pipeline has a sequence of activities, sequence of tasks it is supposed to perform. It's not just one activity it is going to do. There will be multiple activities that you will be performing. So if you want to see which at what activity is the pipeline currently in, right? Because you can have one activity before the copy activity, another after it, three activities. So at which activity it is at, how much time is it taking for that activity to be executed? So you can see the duration here below, right? Did it succeed? Did it fail? So that status, if I want to find out, you can see that over here. So that is mentioned. So the where the pipeline is as of now, that information is present in the output tab. So the output is going to talk about whether the activity or the pipeline that that you have put to execution is completed or not, has succeeded or not. So let's see the output, whether it has worked or not. So over here, debug will perform those activities that are there. Okay. And publish all, yes, it will also implement, but it will also save. So debug doesn't save the work you have done, whereas publish will save the work that you have done and also execute the pipeline. Okay, so over here, debug will implement the task that you have told it to do, but but it will not save the pipeline that you have created. So if I have to, but it will still give you the output. We can still see the output. So I will go to the webinar storage, come to this data container, just refresh it. And can you see a JSON file has been created? Can you see the file that we moved or we copied? Okay, it's a JSON file. You can even see this JSON file. Just click on that. and click on the edit option. So can you see it has created or copied a JSON file from a blob storage and stored into another blob storage, right? So this is a simple example of how data factory is used, how data factory can work. Okay. Now let's understand. So just a quick overview of what is the data factory service. Okay, so this is your data factory service that is there. Now let's go ahead and understand what is the Azure agentic, or what is agentic AI first of all, and what is the agentic AI service on the Azure AI Foundry. So let's go ahead and see that over here. So let's very quickly look at, just go through the theory part, and then I will show you all how to create. First of all, we will have to go ahead and create a model on the AI Foundry platform. So what is a model? We all know, right? But still we will talk about it. And then go ahead and create an agent in the AI Foundry service. And then go ahead and very quickly integrate the two of them through the web activity in the data factory service. So let's very quickly look at what is agentic AI, what is where to implement the agentic AI in the fabric. So, in the Azure service. Okay, so let me go ahead and now what is an agent? Right? It's something that is new. We heard of generative AI. So generative AI is also a very relatively new concept, right? That came in 2002 since ChatGPT came into picture. So we were just trying to understand, okay, this is generative AI, right? It's something that generates a text and image, right? Then what is agentic AI, right? We might be thinking, okay, what is agentic AI? We have generative AI that is helping me to basically generate text, generate information. Then what is new about agentic AI? What is becoming so popular about it? So agentic AI is also a AI system only. Okay, it's something that is going forward. It's going to make humans more lazy, if I have to say. But yeah, it is something that goes beyond the traditional responding, okay, or instructions that you give, and it generates a text. It's not just going to stick to that, it is going to go beyond that. So let's say you are booking a flight, you want to book a flight, okay, for next whatever date you want to book a flight to Mumbai or to Bangalore, wherever you want to go. So the you tell the agentic AI system, okay, or the service, that okay, you want to book a flight and you want to, okay, this is the date you want to book the flight for to Bangalore, let's say probably on next Friday. So what is this system, or this, let's say the travel agency that has this agent? So what is the agent going to do here? It will read your query, it will read the prompt that you give, okay, and it is going to check the available flights that are there. Okay, it is going to check the available flights that are there, right? So it will check the flights, it will give you the options, and it will pick one of those flights. So let's say along with the booking, when you want to book the flight, you're also going to specify, okay, this is your budget. Give me the flights, or give me the flight options in this. This is my budget. Give me the flight options within that range. Okay. So here it will check for those flights, look at your budget, and it will pick one of those flights from that budget that fits your budget. Okay. And even book it. It will even book it for you. So agentic AI, it will not just bring in, I mean, it will not just give, just give you instructions and make your task easy, generate the text. It is also going to go beyond that. It is going to act on their own and achieve the goal you have told it to do. Like you told the agent that, okay, you want to book, like how earlier we used to have an agent, we used to call them and used to tell, okay, this is the booking I want you to do. So the agent would do all the things for you, right? Visa applications, book a appointment, all those things. So human would do for you. So instead of a human, you have a system who is replacing you, and it is going to do all the tasks. Okay. So here it's not just going to predict the outcome, generate the text. It is also actually going to go and implement that task, implement the action on their own and achieve it. So such a system is referred to as a agentic AI. So not it's not like your traditional AI that waits for the command and then generates the content, or you give some input. Okay, it acts autonomously and makes decisions, uses tools and manages the workflow with minimal human help. And that is what is an agentic AI. So Azure, so here let's see what is a agentic AI in the Azure system. So let's very quickly understand. So we understood what is the agentic, or what are AI agents, or what is agentic AI, right? So if a user asks some question, some prompt will be submitted, and the prompt, it will look for the options or in the prompt, it is going to understand your prompt, give you the output, okay, and also do the next set of tasks, that is book a flight, the expense, probably submit the expense form, okay, for you instead of you doing it, because you will take time and etc. So it will do that task for you. Now when you're implementing, so Azure is not behind in this agentic AI. So if you want to create an agent, you can also do that on the Azure platform. Now, if you have to do it on the Azure platform, you do it through a portal which has been created by Azure, which is called as the Azure AI Foundry. Now, what is the Azure AI Foundry? It is your go-to tool wherein you can work with anything related to AI. You want to work with traditional AI models like speech, text, language, okay, even the generative AI. You want to work the different models of generative AI, probably not just Azure related or OpenAI related. You want Gemini, you want Llama, okay, all those generative, all those models you want to work with. So you can do that using a combined portal. So it's a single portal that has been given to you, wherein you can go and work on any AI model or work with the traditional AI as well. So that is what is the AI Foundry. So if you want to work on the AI Foundry and create an agent, so these are the tools, these are the agents that integrate. You have the Copilot in, so Copilot is also a text generative tool, so it's a Microsoft native tool. So you can use the Copilot Studio, you can use AI Foundry to do it, you can use the Open AI Assistant. Okay, so these are nothing but options that are there that you can use, and you can create an agent in the Azure. So you have Copilot Studio, you have Azure AI Foundry, AutoGen, Semantic Kernel. Okay, so if you want to code and you want to do it, even that is possible over here. So you can write a code and you can also create an agent and automate that process. Okay, so here we are going to see how to use the AI Foundry, and we are going to integrate the AI Foundry with the data factory service so that we can generate the it will use the agent, and it is going to uh, whatever prompt you give, based on that it is going to give you the output. So over here, when you're creating an agent, it's very simple to create an agent. So I will show you all. First of all, I will give you all a tour of the AI Foundry service. We will see how to create an AI Foundry service. Okay, and we will see within the AI Foundry service how to create a model, how to work with a model, create a model, what kind of model options do you have? We are going to see that over here. Okay, so we will be seeing how to work with the AI Foundry. So let me just show you all what kind of models are available in the AI Foundry. Let me just show the list to you all. Yeah. So this is your AI Foundry. So there are two ways you can work with it. You can create a AI Foundry project, okay, and there is a AI Hub, I mean Azure AI Hub, wherein you get the hub, you get the Foundry also. So these are the two ways in which you can implement your generative AI, your agentic AI, if you want to work with. So you can do this in both ways. So one of them. So here we are going to see how to create a Azure AI Hub. Okay, because a hub project gives you everything. It gives you a multi-service, I mean, all the resources, all the models, low code, no code approach in order to create your or deploy a generative AI model. So this is how your Foundry looks like. So you can create and manage your project. You can create and manage the hubs, lot of connections, lot of APIs you can create. Okay, you can incorporate AI services, choose different models that are there, and you can from those models. And it's not just Azure native models or Microsoft native models or OpenAI native models. You have a lot of models, Llama, Gemini, all those models. So this is the list of models. So this is the model catalog that you have in the AI Foundry. So it has a wider range of models. Okay. You can access a lot of models. So you can see a range of them. I'll show you all also when we go ahead and we create one. So you can see, you can do a comparison of the models that are there. Then these are the deployment options you can use where you want to deploy the model. So we are going to use the AI Foundry to deploy the model. Yeah. So now let's go ahead and we will just see how to create a AI Foundry. Go to the AI Foundry and create a hub. So I'm going to create a hub in the AI Foundry and we are going to create an agent within it and we are going to integrate the two services together. So now let's go and work with the AI Foundry. So what has Microsoft done? They have created another endpoint. Okay, they have created entirely another endpoint to use the AI Foundry or the Azure AI portal, basically. So earlier it was called as the AI services, then it changed to AI, yeah, AI services. Now it has changed to Azure AI Foundry. So they have created a separate endpoint for it, which is the ai.azure.com. Okay, so this is the, yeah. So this is the endpoint. So in order to work with the Foundry portal, and you want to deploy a model, you have to, you will use the ai.azure.com. So this is the endpoint. So just search for this. So this is the first link you have to use, wherein you have the AI Foundry, all the AI applications or the agents, the models, whether you want to use GitHub, you want to integrate it with Visual Studio, Copilot Studio, all of that has now been integrated into one portal, which is the Azure AI Foundry. Okay, so here just click on the Azure AI Foundry and you can, so I've already logged in. I've used my Azure credentials only and I have logged in. So here, let's go ahead and, so this is how the AI Foundry looks like. So if you scroll down, you will see all the models that are available in the AI Foundry. You can see the latest GPT-5 model has also been updated over here. So you can see, you can go to this catalog, the model catalog that I was talking about, and you can see which models are there. Okay, and you can see not just Microsoft related, you have DeepSeek, you have all the third party models also available. So you just have to go and explore these models and select the model that you want to use in your project. Okay, so over here, I'm going to create a new project. So just click on the create new button here. Select the hub. We are not going to use the Foundry resource. We are going to use the hub. Just click on the next button. Give it a name. So I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to create a new hub also. I'm not going to use the default hub I have. I'm going to create a new hub. So I'll give it a name. And let's just go to the advanced option. So over here, it is creating. So this is the region. I'm letting it create a new resource group. So it's okay if you keep it in separate resource groups. That is not going to be a problem. And over here, we are creating a new AI Foundry. So within the hub only, it will create a AI Foundry or an open AI service so that whenever we want to deploy the model, it will use this particular Foundry itself. Okay. And once this is done, just click on the create button. So let's just wait for some time. So it will take some time to create the project. So guys, we are just waiting for the project to be created, to be set up, and then we will go ahead with the next part in the demo. Yeah, so if you want to work with the machine learning in Azure, you don't have to, you will not be doing it in the AI Foundry service. So for that, you can just you can just search for Azure. you will have to come to the Azure machine learning. Okay, so this is where you will have to come, you will have to create, you will have to learn this. So this is a different tool or a different service itself. So you will have to, you can again use this to do the train the ML models and etc. That is there. So you will have to learn about the Azure machine learning service. So I think the project has been created. Okay. So you can see this is the project that has been created. Now in this project, the first thing that we have to do is we have to deploy a model. Okay, we need a model in order to accept prompts and to perform the task, right? It needs to perform the set of instructions that we give. So we need to deploy a model. So I'm going to go to the model catalog. And from this catalog, or sorry, not go to the model catalog, we're going to come to models plus endpoints. So here we have to deploy a model, okay, in order to use it and integrate it with the data factory service. So I'm going to create a simple GPT, GPT-4o model. So from the base models, I'm going to select one model, that is the GPT. So just search for it, GPT-4o. That is the model I'm going to select. Just click on the confirm button. And over here, with the deployment type, we will go with this. I'll just change the region. I'm going to change the region because the quota is over here. So I'll just switch to East US 2. Okay, I have no quota for East US. So I'll go for, just look for this. Just click on the create resource and deploy. So we'll just wait for the model to be deployed. And once the model is deployed, we will see how to integrate this with the data factory service. So I'll just wait for a couple of minutes. So region, of course, cost will be a factor when we talk about the region, right? Because that is something that is important. So if you want to avoid latency, but you have the cost, then go for a region that is closer. So Central India or South India would be better. So the model deployment will be faster. But if cost is an issue, then it is always better that you go for a region that is a little far away, like East US or West US. They have a little less, they don't cost you much. Okay, but of course, latency is there. Okay, so that is how you should figure out what to use and when to use. Okay, so over here, now we have created the model. So let's go ahead and integrate this with the data factory. So I want to write a prompt. Let's say I don't want to use the, what we say, I don't want to use the data factory, or I don't want to use the playground here. I want to use the data factory service and I want to integrate it. And through the data factory service, I want to implement, or the prompt that I get. I want this model to execute it, right? So over here, I'm going to come to the data factory service. In this pipeline only, I'm going to make some changes. So I'll go to I'll just rename this. Just collapse. Now, like I said, we will be using the web activity, that is the web, to use. We are going to use this activity and we are going to integrate it, right? This is the activity that is going to help us integrate the data factory service with the model that we have deployed. So over here in the settings option, let's go ahead and set this particular option over here. So just 1 second. Yeah. So now I'm going to configure these settings because we need to implement the model through the through the data factory service, right? This model has to be used. So like I said, this web activity, what it is going to do, it is going to make a phone call to another service. So if I want to use the web services of another service, or deploy the model or use the model, because here we are talking about the agents. So if I want to use that and I want to call it, so I'm using the web activity to call the model and accept my prompt and execute that prompt. So it is happening, I'm not using the playground or directly the AI Foundry. I'm doing it via the data factory service. So here we will set up certain configurations. So the first thing I will be putting is the URL. Now, what is the URL? It is nothing but the endpoint. So whenever you deploy a model in the AI Foundry service, there are two things that always get created. One is a URL, and second is a key. Now, what is a URL? What is a key? So URL is nothing but the endpoint where your model is. Okay, it's the target where the model is. So if you want to use this endpoint and share it with the client, right? So over here, because we are trying to integrate the AI Foundry service through the data factory service. So that is why I'm using the data factory service and not this. So we have to implement this model. We have to use this model via the data factory service. So that is why I'm using that over here. So two things, like I said, endpoint and the key, right? It is the authentication. The authentication meaning whether you're authenticated or you're allowed to use or not. So that is given to me through this key. So here, if I want to share this model, use this model, and I want the client to use it, so I can just update, or I can just use this. I need to give an endpoint that, okay, the client can come to this endpoint and he or the client can use this model via that endpoint. So here I'm going to use the endpoint and this key, and I'm going to trigger the model through the data factory service. So let's see how to do that. So I'm going to copy this URL and I'm going to paste it here. So this is what I will be using. Then the method, because we are going to use the data factory service and we are going to we are going to write a prompt from the data factory service. I'm going to use the post method to do that. Now over here, once that is done, I'm going to give a body. Now, what is my body going to be? My body is going to be the prompt. I want to ask a question, right? I want to give that prompt over here. We all know what is a prompt, right? Some question or some response. I mean, yeah, some kind of question that we submit to the model, whether it's the Chat GPT or any other model's co-pilot. You are submitting a prompt, a question you're asking. So in the body, when you're sending you're sending the request. So in the body itself, you will be writing a prompt. So here I have a prompt ready. So I'll just copy that prompt over here. Okay, so this is the prompt. So I'm going to tell the system, the model, that is, it is a user who's asking a question to you. And this is the question, let's say, summarize the benefits of using Azure Data Factory with AI. Okay, so this is the question I am asking. Now over here, I'm going to create a header. Okay, we are going to create a header. We are going to give the header to the, so because when we send a request, right, we know that there is a header and there is a body that we need to submit. So I'm creating a header here, which is going to be content because I need the response. This model has to give me a response, right? So here I will say content type, and I'm going to call this as application slash JSON. So here, when I want the response, I want the response in the form of a JSON format. So that is what I am specifying over here. So this is one header I'm creating. I'm going to create another header which will accept the key. Okay, it is going to take the authentication. So here I'm going to create a header with the name API key, which will take the value, okay, the authentication, the key that is there. So we need to go to the AI Foundry, and I'm going to copy this key so that this particular request that I'm sending is accepted. It uses that model and accepts the prompts and gives me a response. Okay, a response I want. So over here, once this is done, just click on the debug button. Okay, so once you click on the debug button, it is going to execute this pipeline. So you can see below. So we'll just wait for a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds for it to execute the pipeline. So if you see, it has executed this. So if you see, this is the input. So if you come to that specific activity, I'll just click on this, or we can go to the monitor. Okay, so I'll show the output here only. So if you see, this is the input that we have given. Okay. So if you recall, we had given the input in the body, right? We had asked a prompt in the body when we sent the request. We had specified the prompt. Okay. So here, if you see, this is the question. This is the input that we had given. Now I need an output. So the output, if you observe here, it is given here. So if you scroll down, can you see this is the output? It is giving me the content. It is saying, of course, you can definitely work on this. You can give it a better way of displaying the output, probably put a notebook and then display the output. Okay, so here I'm not going into that detail because if I go, we don't have the time also to do that. But you can see it is giving me an output, right? This is the answer. This is the response that I'm getting over here. Okay. So this is one way. So this is how you can integrate. So one of the ways you can integrate the data factory. You can also use, we have the Azure function also. So you can use Azure function and create a agent in the Azure function, or rather give the model to the Azure function, write a Python code in the Azure function and call this Azure function via the data factory service. So you have an activity to do that also. Now another way that you can do here. So here I hard coded the prompt, right? If you see in the activity, in the settings, in the body, the I hard coded the prompt, I hard coded the URL, I hard coded even the API, the key, the authentication method. right? I hard coded all of them over here. Another way, let's say you don't want to hard code them because your model, your URL, your key. Okay, the key, it is an authentication method. So these can keep on changing. Okay, it is going to keep on updating. It can change because keys are something that are sensitive, right? It is something that it is carrying your model information. So it can you can keep on changing it for security purposes. So another thing that you can do is you can ask the user. Okay, you can ask the user to give you the prompt. You can ask the user to give you the prompt that this pipeline. So over here, if you want to ask the user to give you an input of, let's say, the URL, the key, and the prompt also. So you can create something called as parameters in a pipeline. So what does parameters do? Parameters basically accept user input. To put it simply, it accepts user input. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to create three parameters. Because those parameters keep on changing, I'm going to tell the user, okay, I'm giving you the chance. You please, you know, you can just give me the key, give me the prompt, give me the URL, the model information that you want me to use. I'll use that and I'll trigger and I'll give you a response. So over here, we are going to create three prompts. So the first prompt, sorry, the first parameter that I'm going to create is, let's say, for the API. Okay, so I'll just create a API key. The type, the input type, I'm typecasting it to string. Okay, and I'm going to keep this empty because I want the user to give me the key. Okay, I'm going to tell the user, you give me the key, what you want. Then I will create another parameter, which is the endpoint. So I'm going to create a endpoint parameter. Sorry. Okay, and another parameter I will create, which will be for the prompt. Okay, I want the prompt to be given. So here I will specify that over here. Sorry, p prompt. Okay, so these are the three inputs that I will be taking from the user. Now I need to tell the activity that, okay, so these are not the values that I'm going to get. Okay, it's going to come from the pipeline. So when you put the pipeline to execution, okay, then you will receive these values. Then you will receive the URL, you will receive the key, you will receive the prompt. So over here, if I want to tell the activity that from the parameter, from the pipeline, you're going to get the input. The user is going to give you the input. So over here, we need to add. So basically, what we are doing, we are dynamically giving these values. Okay, the user is going to give you the different, is going to give you the key, the prompt, and the endpoint. So it's going to come from the pipeline. It's going to come dynamically. So over here, if you see, you have this option of add dynamic content. So I'm just going to click on that. And because I want to give the URL, so I'm telling, okay, the URL, which is the endpoint, is going to come from the pipeline. So when we execute the pipeline, from there it is going to come. So just select this. So automatically it will take an expression. It will dynamically put the endpoint and it will take the details of the model, use the model, and it will give you a response. So here I'm going to give the endpoint that the endpoint is coming dynamically. So just click on OK here. Now I'm going to change the body because I'm taking the information from the pipeline. Dynamically, it is going to come. It's not being hard coded. So here I hard coded it. So here I'm going to change the body a little bit. So I'll just, so this is what I'm using. So instead of in earlier, if you saw, I'd hard coded the prompt. Now I'm not hard coding it. I'm just giving it whatever the user gives from the pipeline, right? Then even the API key, I'm not hard coding it, so I'm going to remove this and I'm going to add a dynamic content. So I'll select the parameter value. Okay, just map it, tell the activity that the input that you're going to get is coming from the pipeline. So just click on OK here. And once this is done, you can just directly debug it. If you don't want to publish it, you can directly debug it. So just click on the debug button. And now if you see, when I'm executing the pipeline, it is asking for these three values that you have to give me the input, right? So we need to give the API, right? We need to give the API. So the first thing is the key. So I'm going to go there. So this is the key. So give the key over here. Now we need to give the endpoint. So I'm just adding the endpoint. Okay, so I'll just copy the endpoint. I'll just paste that here. I'll also, whatever was the earlier um, prompt, I'm just going to copy that. Okay, I'm just going to add that here. So I'm giving the prompt also over here. So you can just give whatever prompt you want. It is up to you. Okay, this I'm repeating. So you can see I'm giving the inputs here. It's dynamic, right? So you can just click on OK and it will execute. Now you can see it is going to put the pipeline to execution. Let's wait for the output to be executed. So you can see it has executed. So you can see this is the input which we had given dynamically. Okay, so you can see still it has accepted that. And you can see the input, right? This is the input. So we had not hard coded it this time. We have given it via the pipeline. We had told the user that you give me the input, right? You give me the API, you give me the model information, you give me the prompt, and you can see the output here. Okay, so this is one of the ways. So you can see this is the output. Okay, so you can see again, of course, the output is the same here. So you can change the API, you can change the endpoint, and you can see that it is looking also for the content filters. If you see here, it is giving you the output. Okay, so this is how you can, one of the ways, there are multiple ways, guys, to integrate the data factory with the agentic AI and generate the content and execute it. So this is one of the ways. So one activity that you can use, okay, is the web activity, and you can execute this task. Okay, so this is it, guys. Very simple, very easy to use the data factory service along with the AI Foundry. Another way, another approach that you can take is use the Azure functions. Okay, if you want to go the coding way, you can use the Azure functions, and you can use the Azure functions in your pipeline using the data factory and call the API of the model. Okay, use the endpoint and call that API and implement the task. Okay, so guys, with this, we end today's webinar. A simple, straightforward, just it's an emerging technology, it's something that is new. Okay, so just a small demo that was there. So this is it from me. Okay, so guys, there is a feedback form also that is shared in the chat. Just a request to you all, just take 2 minutes and please complete the feedback process that is there. It's something that we really consider, we look at it because it will tell us how the session went, how the webinar went, so that in the future, if we want to, if we can work on it, there were certain things you didn't like, you have some suggestions, so we can definitely improve on this webinar. So guys, we have completed, we are done with the session. Before leaving the meeting, before leaving the webinar, I would request you all to just give the just give us your feedback. And thank you so much, everyone, for attending today's session. It was I was really surprised to even see these numbers. So it's great because it's a long weekend coming up. So happy Independence Day, everyone, and please enjoy the weekend and have a great day. So thank you so much, everyone, and I will see you all I will see you all in the future webinars that are there. So Archie, Shubham, Shubh, sorry, if you are there, we are done with the session. So if you want to continue, you can go ahead. So thank you, everyone. Please do not leave the meeting without giving us your feedback. Yeah, I know. I wish it could be longer. There could be a lot of things that we can still do, but yeah, this is just the beginning. So, guys, lot of things to explore, and you can try it out. So, thank you so much, everyone, and I'll see you all in the future webinars.